I'm Mama Crane with Sweet Tea Traditions, and today we're going to make buttermilk biscuits. Everybody needs to know how to make biscuits. It's a very southern thing, and we're going to do it using just 3 ingredients. And I talk fast and work fast, so we're going to get started. We're going to start off with some self-rising flour, and it just takes about 2 cups. I'm going to measure today, but normally I don't because sometimes I want to make a few more biscuits and sometimes maybe a few less. But to get started good, we're going to go ahead and do some measuring. So I've got about 2 cups of some self-rising flour. Of course, self-rising flour, all that is all-purpose flour with a little bit of salt and some baking powder already mixed in. And you can make it with regular flour and add the other ingredients, but I prefer to do it this way. Next, we're going to use some buttermilk, and we're only going to use a cup of this, maybe a little more. And I know I keep saying a little more, maybe, or a little less, but biscuits are one of those things that you kind of just have to learn. It has a certain feel about it. So we're going to go ahead and start with the 2 cups of self-rising flour. And now we have a cup of buttermilk, and we're going to add that in. Now, I started making biscuits when I was about 13 years old. My pastor's wife, Ruth Ferguson, taught me how to make biscuits for the first time. And I've been trying to perfect them and make them ever since. My other heroes, biscuit making, are my mother-in-law, Mimi, and her mother. We call her Mama Roper. Never met anybody that can make biscuits like those ladies. Now, biscuits are a quick bread, so you don't want to overmix the dough. If we were making yeast bread, just the more you beat it, and the more you mix it, and the more you work with it, the better it gets. But this is not that way. So what we've done is we've added that buttermilk, and we only stir it just until all the flour is moistened. But this is one trick I found over the years that I think really makes a difference in biscuit making, is that I'm going to just leave that alone. I'm going to let it sit for just about 2 minutes maybe, because I want to make sure that all that flour is moistened. So while I'm letting that sit, I'm going to take my pan, and this recipe is perfect to fill just an 8 or a 9-inch round cake pan. And I'm not going to measure the oil, but you could probably start maybe with a tablespoon or 2. And I'm going to pour that oil in that pan. And I'm just going to turn that pan a little bit. And a lot of people are afraid of making biscuits, you know, and it's not that many ingredients. So if you try and you mess it up, just dump it out and try again. Just a little practice, and you can be a great, great biscuit maker. All right, I've got that oil in that pan, and I've got my flour mixture. I think it's pretty good. It's almost kind of like a spongy feel to it. And people say, well, how do you know how it feels? How do you know when it's just right? Well, you just kind of got to play with it a little bit. And I always put a little flour on my hands. Again, that same self-rising flour. Kind of rub them together. If you make a mess, that's all right. You're going to get a pretty big spoonful, and then you're going to just put it right in your hand. These are not rolled biscuits. We just do these by hand. We don't roll them out and cook them. And cut them, I'm sorry. So you want to roll them around a little bit. And again, you don't want to overdo it. And if it sticks a little bit, that's good, because you want it a little sticky instead of really, really dry. Because if you do it dry, you're going to have crumbly biscuits, and that's not what we want. So get that big spoon, got a little bit of powder on there, and you want to kind of cup your hand, not flatten it. You're not trying to make a flat biscuit, and you're really not trying to do anything other than just get it in its shape. So we're going to get these done real quick, and you'll see how quickly you can make a pan of biscuits. Just make them in no time. We have some variations to this basic recipe that we're going to share on our blog. When we do a blog post on our biscuits, we're going to add some cinnamon to just the flour, and just keep on making them like you would, just like we're doing here today. And then you can add a powdered sugar ice, and it makes a great, great cinnamon biscuit. Or our other variation, I think my kids like the best, is to add some garlic powder to your flour before you add your buttermilk. And then after you get that buttermilk going, dump about a cup of cheddar cheese in there, and then continue doing that, and you're going to have some great garlic cheese biscuits. All right, we are almost done. And as you can see, we're filling up this pan. It's sticking on my hands, but again, that's good. And don't worry so much about how pretty they look. They'll be pretty when they get baked. I always tell my kids in a home ec, tell my girls, I can guarantee you a husband one day if you learn how to make biscuits and gravy. So this is the first step towards that. All right, we're just going to do one more biscuit. If you can do it without getting flour everywhere, that's great, but I kind of like to make a mess in the kitchen. So now that what I'm going to do, I've kind of got them in here, and I'm going to just kind of press them down a little bit so that they're all kind of touching. So thank you for being part of Sweet Tea Traditions, and we'll get back with you. We'll show you that final product when we get them out of the oven.